next guest, a very talented actress who you know from such films as Baby Driver, Hobbs and Shaw, Fountain of Youth, and the Netflix series Three Body Problems. She stars in the action comedy Mike and Nick and Alice, which premieres March 27th on Hulu. Let's take a look.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two Nicks.
Well, you have some questions. I would imagine you would have some questions. I had a lot of questions.
Well, I do have a question. Which Nicks from the future?
What? How did you know?
Are you from the past?
I'm from the future, 6 months from now. How did you...
Well, Simon's my friend, remember? I mean, he told me why he wanted money from you guys, but I thought he was a kook, but... God damn. Simon figured out how to time travel?
Please welcome to the show, Eiza Gonzalez, everybody! Welcome to the show, Eiza!
Oh my God, your studio's so beautiful.
It's a very beautiful studio. It's a
very
very good
New York.
vibe. You were just in Austin at South by Southwest, one of the great festivals.
Ooh, we got some Austin
We
locals.
do have some Austin, or just people who recognize the name. Are you? We got some real geography heads
they're
here.
like, we know where that is.
We know where that is.
I know where that is. Yeah, I was there. It was such a good time. I lived in Austin. It was the first place I ever moved to when I moved to the U.S. So it has a beautiful place in my heart. You know, Texans are kind of like it's in border Mexico. So it's like same, but different.
Yeah. This is a very fun movie title to stay, and one of the reasons we hear the name twice, as you might have guessed, is there's two Vince Vaughns.
Yeah.
Now, one Vince Vaughn, already a force of nature. I love watching one Vince Vaughn. Like, double Vince Vaughn.
Also, have you seen how tall he is?
Yeah.
And I have to say, he said this. I'm not going to say something mean about it, but he said he's circus tall, which is true.
Yeah.
He is circus tall. I mean, there's photos of us, and I'm just looking 7 feet up. It's
But
incredible.
so the interesting thing is because there's two Vince Vaughns, you had to use a body double. So did they have to find a circus tall body double?
They did. I don't know how they found him in Winnipeg, by the way.
Really?
No one from Winnipeg?
No,
woo.
no.
Woo for Winnipeg.
People
Damn.
know it, but they're like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
That's amazing. Like, I feel bad for the casting person, but they're like, we need someone Vince Vaughn tall. They got to be from Winnipeg.
From Winnipeg.
Yeah, but they found him.
Tall Canadians.
This is very genre bending. This is a crime movie, super fun, gangsters, also time travel, sci-fi. I would assume fun to make.
Oh my God, a laugh every day. Everyone is just funny, and then there's like a cat who's #1 in the call sheet, strangely, and...
But is it true though that that's problematic for you, that you are actually, in real life, deathly allergic to cats?
I am deathly allergic to cats.
So why would you take a cat movie? Eiza, do you just love the work so much?
Yeah, you know, first of all, I do have a mortgage to pay, and then I think secondly, I just, you know, actors lie. That's our job.
Oh,
We
did
lie
you
for a
say
living.
you're good with cats? Were you like, oh yeah, you don't got to worry about me and cats? And then they're like, you guys, Eiza's crying.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. He was like, how do you feel about cats? I'm like, love them. Amazing. Who does not love cats?
Is it observable how allergic you are to cats?
Oh, I'm like, I could die. Like, truly, it's like a kind of take me to the hospital situation. So when the cat got cast, well, when I got cast, the cat was a whole conversation, and then I kind of had to break it to the director and be like, well, you know, I forgot to mention a little detail, and he said, what's that? And I was like, well, I think I can't really be with the cat. And he's like, the whole premise of the story is the cat. And Ben David has he had a cat who passed away right when we started filming the movie. So he has like a very specific feeling around cats. And so I try to like walk him through maybe the potential option of having a hairless cat.
Right.
And it really created some tension. I mean, guys, this cat had more perks than anyone on this set. He was like, no, you have to see the performance of this cat. We can't really change.
Oh, he wouldn't recast the cat.
No, the cat was a star, and no one could like get in the way of that.
By the way, anyone who saw the clip and then is hearing like it's a movie about a cat is like, this thing seems to be a real ride.
Right, imagine.
Yeah.
And cannibals. You
I
wouldn't
mean-
know there's cannibals in this story too, but
I
here
mean,
we are.
it was like we couldn't find a clip that told you everything we needed.
But that's why you have
That's
to
why you
watch
gotta
the
see
movie
the
this
movie,
Friday.
yeah. But you are not anti-animals. You grew up around a ton of animals.
I love animals.
In Mexico City.
Yeah, and my father was kind of a weird animal collector, and he
There's no normal animal collector.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Especially
What did he collect? What kind of animals did you have?
well, we had at one point a toucan,
Okay.
a duck,
All
a
right.
cageless hamster. This is an apartment in Mexico City, mind
Yeah.
you. An apartment.
Wait,
And-
is a cageless hamster like? Is that actually a kind of hamster? Or does it just means you didn't
No,
have a cage?
I just didn't have a cage for it.
Yeah. That's such a funny. It's
Mr.
like something
Oates.
you tell a landlord. You're like, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
It's a cageless hamster.
He needs to have a room for himself. And by the way, he decided to habitate my brother's like closet at the bottom of the closet, and he hated it. He was miserable. He's like, "Your goddamn Oates is here again," and he's just so fat. Also, he was this big.
Was
I'm
the
not
name
even-
Oates?
Oates?
Oates is
Mr.
a very
Oates.
Oates is a very good name for a cageless hamster.
He was a cutie, but yeah, there was a point where he was there, and then the duck, and then my duck became really bonded to our lovely cleaning lady who's been with me since I was a child. And so there was a moment where, I don't know, I didn't know this, but maybe you did, that kind of ducks bond to one person. And so if she wasn't in her sight, it was like a quack, 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 and all day long.
And then you call up the duck store and they're like, well, did you let her bond with someone who, well,
That
you
was
gotta
not
know
you.
that, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't let her bond with someone who's not you.
Yeah, because then it becomes a headache for
I
you.
did not know that about ducks, but fortunately I didn't need to know it because
Now you do.
I'd never had a duck in the house.
Yeah, you should not. I wouldn't recommend it. My neighbors did not love
By the way,
us.
everything I already assumed was it would be bad to have a pet duck. And now that you added another thing that's like, before you rush into a pet duck, it's like, I wasn't.
Oh, no. We had everything.
That's pretty
Squirrels.
awesome. Squirrels?
Squirrels, a toucan that would walk me to the school and back. Like, it was, we
So
were
you-
just a circus.
So you grew up in an animated film.
Yeah. I'm a real life Disney princess.
Well, hold on. There's more to this than possible because you were a Nickelodeon princess. All right, so you were.
Oh, God.
All right, so you were an actual pop star in Latin America.
In another life, yes.
In another life, but you were Roxy Pop.
There she
This was
is.
and we talked on a podcast. This is an incredible story that you were a very successful touring pop star who then came to New York to be a theater student.
Mm-hmm.
So this is your late teens. You're in New York City. You're studying acting, and then like on weekends, it's like a real life Hannah Montana story. You
Yeah.
would go and do massive touring.
Yeah, it was really funny because, well, I started working when I was 12 years old. I was really young. I just really wanted to pursue singing and acting. And
You probably wanted to get out of the house the duck was in.
that duck was driving me nuts. And so basically, I started pursuing my career and I started working really young, but I always dreamt of doing theater or moving to the US. And so I was very lucky and I got cast in a couple of shows growing up, but then I eventually booked Nickelodeon and I played Roxy Pop, and it's kind of a ripoff of Hannah Montana, really. Shame on Nickelodeon. Sorry. I will never be
We're
hired
so glad
by them.
you could finally admit it.
But anyway, so I was cast as that, and then I was touring on the weekends, and then I had to do homeschool, and I had to do all that. And on the weekends, when I eventually moved to New York and got into Strasbourg, well, I had to pack my classes from Monday to Thursday, and then on the weekends I would tour. And then everyone would come back on Monday and be like, "What do you guys do for the weekend?" They're like, "Oh my God, I went to visit my family." And I was like, "Well, I did 3 stadiums, and then I came back." But also, this is the era that there's no, we didn't have internet, so understanding that I was a pop star in a different country,
Yeah.
this is like early 2000s.
So
You're
everybody just thought you were insane.
they were like,
Yeah.
she's a little
Yeah.
special. Like,
She's
let
like,
her.
she said she did stadium tour this
Yeah,
weekend.
with a wig. She's been watching TV too much. Yeah, and so I made it. I got in Strasbourg at 18 years old. I applied, and only 5 people got approved.
Well, congratulations. We're very lucky to have you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank
It's been a
you.
delight to talk to you.
Thank you.
Asa Gonzalez, everybody. Nick and Alice begin streaming on Hulu on March 27th. We'll be right back.